Alrighty, welcome back to another intrepid installment of I have no idea what our opening spiel is. It's been a whole week. I'm Fraggoth, and today we're going to read more of Flux by Jinwoo Chong. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing names. It is not just likely, it's almost certain. So we've been introduced to three separate plot lines so far. We've got I believe, as yet unnamed first-person perspective protagonist. We've got a young boy named Bo, whose mother has died. He thinks it's his fault, and it has happened, I believe, on Christmas or Christmas Eve. And there is a older man named Blue, who is mute, communicates using sign language, who has been given an implant that allows him speech. Speech that sounds somewhat similar to Rutger Hauer, circa Blade Runner. Or at least that is the impression we are given. Will these plot lines ever intersect? Are they the same person? Who knows? I know. And I can't tell you, because that would be breaking the rules or something. Anyway, let's get crack-a-lackin' on Chapter 5. And we will move along. This will be a bit shorter than last time. It's getting us all the way to Part 2. So I guess as a before I really get into it, you know what? I'll save this for after. I take it back. Let's read, and then I'll get into some of the drama that's going on in the background. It won't affect us yet, but it is something worth mentioning. Alrighty, so let me get a quick slurp of water in where you can't hear it, and we'll get to reading. Chapter 5. Blue didn't find himself around this part of the city for any other reason. He wasn't even sure if Lev was allowed a phone anymore. The rules were stringent, he knew, and had changed many times without notice over the years. Lev wasn't allowed outside the building without an escort. His food was brought in at the beginning of each week. As of yet, they hadn't barred visitors, or so Blue thought. He was hoping to be lucky this time. It had been a few weeks since they had last connected, though the visits, Blue thought, had now continued for at least a decade. Blue entertained for a quiet moment as the train teetered around a bend in the tracks the possibility that they had finally decided to just cart Lev off to a proper prison, even if there had never truly been enough to criminalize him in the first place. It was an affordance granted by the media saturation around Io Emsworth that her lieutenants had by and large escaped blame. He was afraid, briefly, that he'd forgotten the address, but off the subway and farther into the city a couple blocks, he saw the building fairly quickly, all glass and spiraling up into the sky at least 40 stories. Snow fell around him in half-hearted wisps. In the lobby, a girl at a desk took his name and, hearing Lev's, brought a separate tablet out from a drawer. His palm prints were taken, his in-ears removed, turned off, and placed in a lead box along with his wallet. A discreet monitor had already scanned his body for metals as he'd walked through the revolving door to the desk. He was ushered to the near walkway by a guard and escorted up to the penthouse. After a minute, while his ears popped, he was deposited in front of the double doors at the end of the hallway. "You have 90 minutes. The guard stepped aside, folding his hands in front of his waist. Blue caught the black grip of a pistol on the inside of his jacket as he opened the door and stepped inside. The door was not locked. He found Lev in the kitchen, like he had done most other times he visited. He made espressos at all hours of the day, stirring it together with a few tablespoons of sweetener and a thimble of cream.
"Make you a double, shall I?"
Lev called over his shoulder.
"Nothing for me today."
He watched Lev's head rise a couple centimeters, turning around. Lev wore a spindly velveteen robe off his bony shoulders. His hair was nearly gone. He'd started to look this way in the last few years. Blue suspecting a cancer that Lev wasn't telling him about. Lev chewed the inside of his lip, trying to make up his mind.
"You didn't. You couldn't possibly. It's for the news special, not permanent."
Lev set down his espresso, hobbling over. Already his hands skirted the bandage around Blue's neck, as though feeling for the implant with his fingertips.
"Unbelievable. And they gave you this little thing for free, did they?" "Again, temporary."
Lev put his hands on each shoulder. With a look, he appeared both animated and exhausted, as though a manic-only energy was keeping him from collapsing altogether. He leaned in and kissed each side of Blue's mouth.
"I do enjoy you. Take me to the parlor."
Blue led them into the adjoining room overlooking the city, wide windows that extended the length of the wall. Lev hung onto his hand, creaking his way across the floor. He was in worse shape than Blue remembered. The place was impeccably neat, as always. On a visit a month ago, the ornate credenza that once held a collection of antique china was replaced with a wholly modern glass and onyx television that blared faces twice real-life size. A news bulletin was on mute. Blue wondered again how much of the trial and its subsequent talking-head coverage Lev had seen was allowed to see. He had never been given a clear answer.
"Shut that ugly thing off,"
Lev told him. He sat, winded. Blue fumbled for the remote as he sat down with his drink.
"I swear it's the only exercise I do these days, opening and shutting my eyes, reading closed captions," he said. "I can't tell the sitcoms apart from the dramas. Such beautiful people. It hurts my head."
"Why aren't you taking your walks anymore?" Lev gave him a look.
"Have you ever thought that the concept of taking a walk around a predestined course, day in, day out, down to the exact number of steps, calories burned, joules of work produced, is perhaps the most fascist thing any of us could ever do?"
"Just a question." Lev gazed at him a second longer. He had lost so much weight. I really can't stand this voice of yours," he signed impatiently. "Speak to me with your own words." "This is not just an excuse for you to remind me how fluent you've become."
"I take offense," Lev said. "I didn't learn it for you."
He had, in fact, learned it entirely for Blue. He had said so many times before. And American Sign Language, though complex, had barely taken him more than 2 weeks. Lev was older, beaten, falling apart, but not any duller, and it made Blue happy. At least he thought it did.
"I'm supposed to practice this voice so that it can appear more natural on camera," said Blue. "You'll be helping me out." "You sound very natural already. You don't need any help from me," sighed Lev. He downed his espresso and wiped his mouth with his sleeve. "Lay it all out for me. I want to hear everything." "That's not really why I came by."
"Oh, come on now. You're the only interesting news I get anymore." Lev crossed his legs in front of him. They paused a moment to catch the last glimpses of the sun dipping out over the city. It wouldn't have surprised Blue to know some legal clause afforded him the penthouse apartment gratis to serve out his house arrest. Lev had always commanded presence like that. It made sense that he'd demanded a penthouse and they had obliged, no matter what the cost had been. Blue had seen Lev make a great many things happen in the time they had known each other. This much was true.
They're picking me up a couple of days after Christmas. It'll be me and a camera crew, they say.
Fascinating, Lev observed him. Just fascinating. How do you feel?
I don't feel anything. They've paid me a lot of money to do the news special.
You have never struck me as somebody who cared for those sorts of things, Lev said. The future, I mean. It's always escaped you. Don't tell me I'm wrong.
How do you know?
A smile crossed Lev's face. He smiled like this often. Blue was used to the comfort it generated in him. It was comfort he had never quite learned to distrust the way he should have. You've come almost every month for the past 10 years. You've wanted to know everything I could bother to tell you about it all. Flux, Io, and I've told you. I've left nothing unsaid, no stone unturned. I don't mean to flatter myself, but I didn't have to. You made that call for us when you tattled.
Hardly tattling when under oath.
Oh, is that what you call it? Lev turned his head at the sound, sharp shoes hitting the floor. A young woman had emerged from behind a door, carrying a mess of shopping bags. She stopped, gazing at the two of them with an empty look on her face. Lev waved in the direction of the left-hand wing off the great room where he and Blue had taken their seats. Find something to do, he told her, briskly. This was supposed to be our night, the girl pouted, but Lev had already turned away, ignoring her. The guard who had showed Blue up to the penthouse closed the door behind her. Within another moment she had taken her bags and clicked down the hall, away from them. Lev raised his hands, extending his fingers wide. What were we talking about?
Under oath.
Under oath, Lev repeated. That's it. Incrimination. I surrender all my receipts to a judge. I need court approval to buy a ficus for my informal lounge. The police academy dunce listening outside my front door is undoubtedly going to be the last face I see before I die. Did you hear what L'Aspirant said about Io? It was this week, wasn't it? Quite the uproar. Blue screwed up his eyes. He had heard enough about L'Aspirant for a lifetime. It was pitiful, the value people claimed in the words of those running for president. An election loomed, Blue thought. He didn't know more. He might be the highest profile to call for a pardon.
I think the government has better things to do than debate the merits of one woman in or out of the jail time that she deserves.
They had called him L'Aspirant. In the French military, the word for an officer candidate, for the first time a month ago, when he announced his run, and the name had stuck. It was unknown what the man genuinely thought of the moniker. It wasn't particularly flattering. Blue didn't watch much television anymore, but recalled the video clip of the previous month in which L'Aspirant paid a visit to a children's hospital in the wake of a bus accident. He had taken a makeshift podium with almost comical solemnity, and vowed greater protection for the country's children. Many believed the stunt to be pure performance. It was only a bus accident, after all. The worst of the injuries had been a broken wrist, some concussions. But Americans respected his stoicism and vast wealth, his handsome face. Empathy often won elections. An election more than a year away in which L'Aspirant had become the single, most logical, most enrapturing choice, of course, but all the same, Blue thought. Lev raised his right wrist, showing Blue the scar where the tracking implant had been installed. You couldn't have made it at least a little interesting, could you? I mean, house arrest. Wire fraud. You sell away the company that bought you your house, paid your little daughter's child support, for an oath you don't even understand. Because we are to believe the great myth that you, all this time, were that good Samaritan who saw something, said something. I must sound so bitter to you, darling. Believe me, I'm not.
In any case, I was in jail because of me. You were served much better because of me. Why are we talking about such old news?
Lev turned his cup over in his hands. Really, the only things I envy you are the airs they've put on your shoulders. Out of all of us, you're the only one they call a hero. The way things are going, L'Aspirant may make you Attorney General. He will win.
I don't care.
Lev snorted. Blue wasn't in the mood to be called a hero. It didn't matter to him anymore. Little had in the intervening years. So Io would be pardoned once L'Aspirant took office. Who was this show of moral generosity even for? The young ones on the internet who'd obsessed over the movies made about her in the last year, acting as though they'd uncovered some secret, tantalizing history 20 years obscured. Blue was no hero. Nobody even knew his name. Lev cocked his head to the side. Why don't you ever humor me anymore? You used to. Call it whatever you want, but admit, we've shared a great deal of fun together.
Do you know that you're the only one? Do you know that you're the one always talking about the past, not me?
I've earned that allowance, haven't I? Lev asked him. It's my past and yours that made $1 billion from nothing.
I've already heard this story.
Companies like the one Io built are made of nothing. Lev ignored him. He was in one of his moods and could never wait for an audience once he got started. It's hot air, bending light around it to fool everybody looking at it into seeing something worth seeing. After which
3 people died.
Everybody dies, Lev said. I'm watching the dumbest old show about some cranky little cunt doctor who treats his patients like dirt. He says that all the time.
Everybody dies.
He laughed when Blue said nothing. I'm not smart enough for you anymore. You're bored of me. A thought appeared to cross his mind, smooth so as not to appear manufactured. Yet you keep coming.
Can't I visit an old friend?
Lev's hand grew white around the cup in his lap. For a moment he looked ready to throw it. But the seconds passed, and neither moved, and Lev's knuckles faded back to pink as he loosened his grip. The girl was making some noise in a nearby bedroom. They jumped as the timed lights, calibrated to the setting sun, sprung on all around them. We are not friends, Lev said. You despise me. You always have. He stood, gathering up his robe around himself and hobbling past Blue's chair to look out the window. He was a small man. You'll have to tell me now what you want. You are different today. I can tell. There's something you've done, something you've decided, and it's changed everything about you, the way you look at me. Blue was quiet for a long time. He had not forgotten the request his daughter had made of him. He didn't know where to find cognac nearby, and didn't want to show up with something cheap.
You're always right, Lev.
This made Lev happy. I am sorry, he said, for the dead ones. It shouldn't have happened that way. And I know you didn't mean for it to happen, either. Nobody blames you.
It's very late for that kind of thing.
Lev shook his head. That voice of yours, it's insane. I can't stand it. Blue stood, joining him by the window. The light was dull and orange and would soon be gone. He was already exhausted. He had much left to do.
I need some reassurances,
he said finally. They were an arm's length apart, standing together.
In a few days, they're going to take me back inside F1, and I need to know some things before I go. And it's very important that you tell me the truth.
What will you do if I don't?
I'll break your skull open.
Lev smirked. Blue could see out of his periphery. At least a minute passed before either of them spoke again. That caveman standing outside my door will take great care of you if you do.
Doesn't matter. I'm very quick. I'll get it done if you make me.
You mean to say, right now? Lev looked at him for the first time, surprised. Right here?
I'm through wasting my time, and 15 of your 90 minutes are already up.
It seemed as though Lev wasn't going to give him what he wanted. Which would make sense, Blue thought. There wasn't much sane about the way he lived anymore. It was something they had in common. But at last, Lev nodded. As if they'd thought of the exact same thing, they retreated to the couch and seat where they'd positioned themselves previously. The moment between them passed as though through water, slowly and silently. Then Lev crossed one leg over the other, leaned forward. "Go on, then. Ask your questions." Chapter 6. Min said she liked Korean food, commercial and authentic. She didn't have a preference. Oh. Min said she liked Korean food, commercial and authentic. She didn't have a preference. There was a fine line growing finer between the two in the city. I was talking about the places in the lobbies of luxury condominiums that sold galbi tacos with kimchi pico de gallo. Compare that against the basement holes deep in the heart of K-Town where one grandma cooked all 25 broths and cut the noodles herself. I used to be able to tell them apart. They grew closer and closer together until it could hardly be said which had adopted the other. Who was to say this was not the ultimate goal of immigration itself? Synthesis. It was more than simple cohesion. I'll give you an example. It was all Mandarin on Raider, so I'm not sure you'd know this, but they don't eat beef in Korea, not like we do here. The piles and piles of barbecue grilled on charcoal at the table is as rare and spendy as pre-fee caviar over there. The notion of it did not exist before the techniques were developed in the States, leading us, the sickly hybrid generations that came after, to wonder what exactly we had done to our culture. She told me to meet her at a noodle shop where she said she'd only ever been for lunch. I was early. My hands were blue from the cold. I had been walking down every street that presented itself, turn after turn, for most of the day, taking shelter from the snow wherever I could find it. My head still hurt, but I'd stopped bleeding, so I left the bandage around my head in a garbage can outside the Jewish Museum, where I'd spent an hour inside a display of paper cutting by an artist from the 20th century. Giza Frankel was her name. She had emigrated from Poland to Israel in the 50s, and I'd memorized her life story by the time my hands had gotten their feeling back. It had been a long time since I'd eaten Korean food, but now, plied with vapors from the kitchen, my memories were fresh. The place was modest and lit with two bright overhead fluorescents. That is, two-bright, T-O-O, as in they are entirely too bright. The place was modest and lit with two bright The place was modest and lit with two bright overhead fluorescents. On two television screens, that's the number 2 this time, I don't know if you can... on two television screens on each... I'm going to just take this paragraph from the top. I'm sorry. I just threw myself all over the place. Oy. This happens. It had been a long time since I'd eaten Korean food, but now, plied with vapors from the kitchen, my memories were fresh. The place was modest and lit with two bright overhead fluorescents. On two television screens on each opposite wall blared a glossy drama. An old rich type was meeting with a young man for dinner at a restaurant that looked exactly like this one. She was crying, while his eyes were bulging, frog-like. There was a fight coming. Somebody was in a coma, and there was money left to be paid out of the young guy's inheritance. I caught the gist over cooking sounds coming in from the kitchen. I lingered by the door, looking around for her, and seeing the place nearly empty, took a seat under the window and neon signage. My belt bag took the empty seat beside me. There was activity from the farther tables where the grills were, but I didn't feel very hungry for meat. A teenager brought over some hot water and disposable wipes, and I took them silently. "Just you tonight?" he asked me in English. I'm waiting for someone. The kid set down another cup and a spoon, its head wrapped in paper for cleanliness, and saw himself back to the kitchen. Over the course of the show, I saw you eat about 50 hot dogs and not much else, the exception being Season 2, Episode 17, Checkmate, in which a young witness to a bank shootout makes noodle soup for you and Moto in her kitchen. There were plenty of ways in which the show could have denigrated ethnic food, like it was always done on TV at the time. Her lifting up a pot cover to reveal a pile of squirming bugs, duck tongues, monkey brains, played to death over sounds of plucked guzhengs and imperial cymbal crashes. But the camera and your eyes are respectful. You watch her chop, peel, and ladle. Moto licks his lips and speaks in chatters, and you have to hush him for his rudeness, though it is cute the way you do it. When the meal is ready, you lift the hearty bowl to your lips, and when the meal is ready, you lift the heavy Geez, you take 5, 6, 7 days for work, and you just lose track of how to do this. When the meal is ready, you lift the hearty bowl to your lips with both hands because you saw her do the same, slurp the noodles in quantities too large for your mouth, and she smiles at your choking noises. She would be dead in a hit and run just 15 minutes later, after a commercial break, but there, in that kitchen, there is safety. You understood that. The soup looked hardly tasty, given the spare couple of minutes she was shown boiling the beef bones, but I didn't have it in my heart to be choosy. I never did. And besides, I didn't have anything else. Sometimes I forgot the ways I did things just because I saw... It's a rough morning. It's going to take me a minute. It's too bad, because this is kind of important. Sometimes I forgot the way I did things just because I saw you do them. Walked with my head down and feet falling squarely in front of each other, like I always had places to be, though I almost never did. Stood with my hands in my pockets, balled into fists, looked and stared without changing a single muscle in my face, with my jaw set just a bit farther out than was comfortable. I wanted to smoke so badly, like you did, but my dad would have killed me. It was the one thing I never tried, not even in secret. I looked up as she passed me in the window, appearing not to notice I was sitting right there, and shouldered the door open, stamping her boots free of snow on the mat. She was dressed in the same dark colors, but was buried under a thick scarf and woolen hat. I saw her eyes scan the place, coming to rest on me. She stamped her boots a couple more times and made her way across the tables. She looked different, out of her work habit, and she had put on a shiny film when at work that had now been taken off. Her cheeks were rosy from the cold. "I was afraid you wouldn't come," she said, sitting down. "Wasn't I the one that asked you out?" "I don't expect much from men." She took a long drink from the steaming cup and tried to shake herself warm. We wiped our hands clean with the disposables and crunched them up together at the corner of the table. She smiled at the belt bag I'd slung over the empty chair. "Are you okay?" "My head hurts." I shrugged. "I guess I'm not that worried about it. Otherwise, I'd be in the hospital." That sounds like something you should be worried about." Emphasis on the right syllable? "I guess I'm not that worried about it. Otherwise, I'd be in the hospital." That sounds like something you should be worried about. We sipped and took turns watching the K-drama on screen. The teenager returned, dipping his head slightly to Min. She ordered, surprising me. The kid took another glance at me. "He eats spicy food, yeah?" he said in Korean. "Doesn't look like it." "He'll be fine," said Min. We were left alone after that. Somebody switched the television closest to us to the news, which was still running coverage of the blackout. A portion of the Con Ed plant just by the river was still dark. "Crazy," we both said about the television, nothing more. I remembered the office that morning and turned around, trying to find the clock. There it was, analog, white face, probably a little battery-operated ticker hidden inside it, moving the hands, chugging away. It made me happy.
Do you get that a lot? Min asked me. People assuming you don't speak Korean? I nodded. Does it bother you?
Well, I don't, really, I said. I stopped when I was a kid. I was bilingual once. Not so much anymore.
Want to practice with me?
I put my hands together and bowed so low my nose touched the tabletop. She laughed.
You don't look Korean.
I don't think I do either. Probably why people assume. What's up with your dog sitter?
She's giving me the impression that she's overworked. I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep her. Honestly, it causes more stress than just leaving him at home.
What kind?
He's a rescue. I think some poodle. Somebody told me English pointer. I don't know what you'd call that.
Pointy poo. Min made a big flourishing wave in the air as if to congratulate me. Banchan arrived in a dozen lacquer bowls the size of my palm. We broke our chopsticks and picked at the good ones. Candied sardines, fish cake. There was potato and mackerel in soybean paste that made the back of my throat burn.
I'm sorry I turned her down the first time,
she said with her mouth half full. You don't have to be. She gave me a look.
Yes, I do. I wasn't being very honest. And it wasn't because I didn't want to. You just caught me off guard, and I took the easy way out. That tends to happen with me.
You're here now, aren't you?
I am.
She rose a little higher on her seat, straightening her back.
Tell me about that job you lost.
I told her, trying not to think about Gil, who had called several more times while I walked through the city, the big-dicked stranger in Lycra who was expecting to meet me tomorrow. I left him out of my retelling, but left Gil in. Min ate the last of the fish... Min ate the last of the fish cake.
I used to get Metropole delivered, she said. I thought they always had great spreads. And the interviews. Are you keeping up with that Antonin Hauer stuff?
Yes, I answered slowly. Fucked up.
The most fucked up, Min agreed, as if anybody needed reasons why nepotism is poisonous. Just waves and waves of generational wealth propping these people up until they don't even understand what they're doing is wrong. I honestly doubt the old guy really knows that. Sad for the kid, though. He's literally everywhere. Did you meet him when he came in for the cover shoot?
We don't meet them, usually. Not the marketing people.
I heard he's tall, she said. I also heard he doesn't use shampoo.
I'm sure, I said. We picked at our food for the next minute or so. I asked her about the store.
It's a job, she shrugged. I wanted to be in fashion, but I couldn't get over the subjectivity. Something I thought was beautiful doesn't even get in the door because somewhere high up a senior buyer doesn't think green is it this year. Infuriating. I'd already broken my parents' hearts getting the fine arts degree, and I'm a terrible sketcher.
They let you do it, though. Your parents.
I don't know if they really had a choice, Min said. I wasn't very kind to them about it. Anyway, I'm okay with it. The pay's good.
Don't forget the discount.
Yes, can't forget that, she said. I'll be in this job selling bags to people like you until I die.
I don't think I want to know what you mean by people like me.
You're right, she smiled. You don't.
Her phone buzzed. I could feel it through the table, but she ignored it.
I really can't imagine what that Hauer kid is thinking right now. He hasn't said anything, has he?
I shook my head.
I mean, I read the profile. They're obviously not close, but they've got basically the same name.
He'll probably get by, I said. They always do. I could tell my answer had almost irritated her, but, in my defense, I was only trying to steer us away from you. I wasn't ready. A pot of deokbokki arrived on a portable stove, and I know I mispronounced that. DDEOK-BOKKI. No idea how that's pronounced. Sorry, Korean is not a language I have any real knowledge of how to pronounce. My apologies. A pot of deokbokki arrived on a portable stove, and Min dug a spoon straight into the boiling sauce to eat. We juggled the steaming hot rice cakes in our mouths and chewed like raptors. I was into the way we could eat like this. I hadn't had any food all day and was glad she wasn't somebody all that interested in talk when there was a meal to be had. It was the kind of date I would have guessed I wouldn't enjoy.
Do you know what they're going to do with the magazine now?
They told me they'll sell. It's pretty prestigious, so I wouldn't be surprised if some rich guy picked it up as a passion project.
Are you sad?
About my job?
About the magazine, Min said. It's one thing to be fired, but getting let go while they just junk the whole thing seems different.
It was different. I'd been getting Metropole and a couple other titles delivered monthly ever since I'd worked for the conglomerate. It was a casual presence on my table back home, even if I rarely had time to read it. My name had appeared on the second page under the sales department for a single issue before they nixed the masthead page to make room for advertisers. I'd kept my first issue in a folder under my bed, and in the years since, the paper had yellowed to the point of eroding the ink. We printed on the kind of paper that stayed ripe only for a year or so before stacks and stacks of them were ostensibly thrown in a landfill. I still had the page. I imagined showing it to her someday. It might not be over yet, I told her. We don't know who's going to buy it. Gil... I stopped myself. Min stayed put, looking at me. A sizzling plate of short ribs had come to the table.
Is Gil somebody you can talk to about this? She asked. Maybe he can help you find a new job.
He could, I said. Min selected a steaming slice of beef off the hot plate and held it in the air.
You're really cool.
How do you mean?
That's the impression you're trying to make on me, isn't it? She said, with your fake brooding, not telling me anything about your life.
Who says it's fake? She looked at me, smiling.
Me?
I left her most of the barbecue and settled for the soup that came afterward. We packed it away. My fingers were swollen from the salt by the end of it. She didn't like green melon, she told me, when the teenager brought it over sliced and skewered with toothpicks, so I had that as well. We split the check and walked outside together. There persisted a few seconds in which I was looking for her to show me where she was headed, and she waited before speaking.
This was nice.
More silence. Snow had started to fall around us. Somewhere on a balcony, or maybe out a window, somebody was blasting Christmas music, an old Bing Crosby, and it was pissing everybody else off. We heard shouts from the apartments above. Frost coated the street, a single track of tires running through it from a recent car. My phone buzzed again, and I, knowing Gil, pressed on its side through my pants to send it to voicemail. There were 2 feet of space between us. Big crystalline flakes had dusted our hair by now. My stomach was still hot from the soup. And it's that thing I've imagined happens upon realizing somebody has seen you for who you really are despite your best efforts. The feeling of being given just a split second to make the choice, in or out, before any of it becomes real. I remembered the first time I watched all of Raider through and realized there would be no more episodes. I think I actually cried. I was much too young to be watching it in the first place. I'd practically ruined my mother's life badgering her to let me, and she blamed my father wholly for introducing me to it. Whatever meaningful bond made between us obsessing over the same show was not worth the violence it preached to her. It had been the moment I realized that I had seen all of you, every moment now uncovered. You were as available to me as my own thoughts, and it made me afraid, because first and foremost I loved the questions you posed. I loved knowing that I didn't know, that there would be more next episode. I wouldn't be able to watch you quite the same way. I'd never wonder about you again. I'd never be surprised. There you were, Raider, for all you are, and there would be no more. I stopped looking at her. I have no idea what I'm doing. Min seemed to say something about that. I wasn't expecting her to, but braced myself anyway. Then her phone buzzed. I heard it through her coat. She kept her eyes on me, but dug it out of her pocket. She rolled her eyes.
Jesus, do you know how to turn these off?
She showed me the screen, a Twitter news alert. "It's the dumbest shit they bother me about, and I can't figure out how to turn them—" I had taken her wrist, holding the screen steady because I had, in the split second she waved it in front of me, recognized a name. Hadrien Hauber. I read, "Actor Hadrien Hauber releases statement on abuse allegations against father Antonin Hauber." "What? Can you—" I made a gesture with my hand. "Would you—" I looked away while she unlocked her screen and handed it to me. 10,000 tweets already on the topic. With our heads together, it took a while, scrolling, to find the original. Hadrien hadn't tweeted in 2 weeks, not since the Times article. Just 20 minutes ago, he had posted a screenshot of a white Word document with no caption. "Like many of you, I am shocked and appalled by the allegations that have surfaced concerning my father, Antonin Hauber. The alleged assaults of co-workers, spouses, and others have shaken my core. I am disgusted and ashamed. It is difficult to find the right words. I'm not a close contact of my father's. As he raised me, I often felt oppressed by his domineering and perfectionist attitude. This callousness has more than once led to disagreements between us, after which I saw it best to limit our contact. I understand this news is difficult and upsetting for many who have supported and admired him over the years. Many of you grew up watching him on the screen, just as I did. But violence is inexcusable. My father cannot be forgiven for the sake of his stature and influence. In an era in which the bravery of victims has at last resulted in deserved repercussions for their powerful abusers, I am adamant that we cannot allow my father's victims to languish in silence any further. He must face consequences for his actions. As of tonight, I have filed paperwork to legally emancipate myself from Antonin Hauber's estate. I am named in his living will as next of kin along with my step-siblings. These connections, with him and with them, will be severed. I am also exploring the legal adoption of my mother's surname. I am reminded, in taking these steps, of her strength and bravery. Last year, I celebrated the founding of her Women's Health Initiative, which seeks to provide support for victims of abuse. Please donate at the link in my bio. Peace and love. H. Thanks for tuning in, Vaquito and Toby Frost 9770. I'm here to express support live before I have to catch you later in the void. Keep it up. Thank you. I will. Whether you want me to or not. We read it through, pulling apart afterward. The snow had picked up speed around us and collected in larger clumps around our feet. Min stamped her boots again, and the sound echoed across the street. Hardly anybody left in the city so close to Christmas Eve. We could tell from the empty air. "What does that really mean, legal emancipation?" she said, finally. "He's over 18, isn't he?" I shrugged. I'd gone over the words enough times in my mind. It was easy to see Hadrian's way out of the mess. He was banking on culture's overwhelmingly liberal lean and his own independent success. Success I didn't know he truly had without his name attached. It was a gutsy move, but things worked out his way, always. He was one of those people. "It sounds pretty bluffy to me," Min said. "Changing his name? What good would that do? If he really—" She stopped, seeing the look on my face. I tried to stop myself, to bring myself back down to 0, but it had escaped me, and she had noticed, and there was nothing I could do. "You okay?" I nodded, shakily. I was okay, I thought. There was no reason I shouldn't be. Min looked over my shoulder, then behind her. "Let's walk." She took my hand and steered me to the direction of the sidewalk. I went. It was some of the most beautiful snow I had seen in a long time. With the lamps overhead, it seemed to just appear out of the dark, floating silently down to the ground in front of us. All the dirty light down here was reflected in the clouds, turning them brown. We didn't talk to each other for 4 blocks, tiptoeing around slush puddles at each of the intersections. We found ourselves in a place where the cars were loud, kicking half-frozen water up onto the pavement where we were as they sped past. I'm going to reread that sentence. We found ourselves in a place where the cars were loud, kicking half-frozen water up onto the pavement where we were as they sped past. Why aren't you with your family for the holidays? She'd asked the question, finally, as we found a larger, more spacious sidewalk and continued on. Her hand was warm in mine. I'd expected this question much earlier, and had forgotten the answer I'd rehearsed in response. They're not very accessible, I decided to tell her. It's hard to make it happen most years. I think you took those words out of my mouth, she said. It seemed like it was all she would say about it for a moment, but she continued. It's actually my first Christmas alone, plus the bonus wages for staying over the holidays. It's not so bad. We stopped for a moment, looking up at the sky. Were you outside when the lights went off? She asked me. I shook my head. I was a few blocks from here, she said, coming home from dinner. Seeing's one thing. I've never heard anything like that in my life. What did it sound like? Just nothing, she said. Total darkness, no beeps or whistles, everything gone. And afterward, the 5 or 10 seconds we all spent just waiting for the lights to come back on again. My mother was doing laundry in her basement. She said she almost had a heart attack. She sighed. What can I tell you? The world's a strange place. Being our age in the world is a strange place, too. Our age and single. That's... She looked sideways at me. We are our age, aren't we?
28.
Which month?
February.
Min tugged a little on my hand. May.
Where the Christmas carols blasting out of the neighboring apartment balcony had since died out, new ones replaced it, this time from the open doors of a souvenir shop, bright as a diamond. We passed it, listening to the music, and were both a little sad when it, too, faded away. We were headed west, generally, but I didn't know where exactly. Min didn't seem to be leading me anywhere, but I couldn't tell for sure.
Do you think he's going to go through with it?
I knew what she was talking about. I hadn't quite shaken the words yet, either. He could. It'd probably be good for his PR. His Metropole cover might even sell better because of it. In fact, I was sure of it.
That's what I think, she agreed. Then, you care a lot about him.
I laughed, half-assed, so that it came out as one big, exasperated breath, which I supposed was how I felt. We were walking slower, stepping around large paths of ice that hadn't yet been salted. I used to watch an old TV show his dad used to do. It's one of my favorites, actually.
Oh,
she frowned and seemed to mean it.
That's terrible. I'm sure it meant a lot to you.
It's just his character, I said quickly, because it's not even really Hauer. I mean, not anymore. And the idea that we should just dissociate from something that big, like a show, with so many moving parts and other actors and writers and producers who were probably really proud of what they did there and what it means to so many people, doesn't sit right with me. It's not fair to everybody else. The people who made it, or the people who watched it. It means so much more than the one actor, even if it's his face on the poster. A lot of work went into the craft all around him, and it's... Min listened to this quietly, still holding onto my hand. There were a precious few people in the world who could listen like that, Raider. You know it when you see it. The way somebody can make you feel like you make sense, even if you might not even think you do. She didn't speak for a while.
Nice hill to die on, she said, finally smiling. You know, a lot of people still watch Woody Allen's movies. Not the new ones, of course, but the classics. They're still on every list of the best out there, still, and nobody really wants to explain why.
I do love this bit, which is kind of a nice dissertation or harping on about celebrity culture and cancel culture. It's an interesting one. And he's not the same as somebody like Woody Allen. He put his wife in the hospital for...
I know, but still, Min said. Like you're saying, Antonin Hauer is a different guy than the fictional. You're talking about that show, right? The Chinatown detective one? I felt my breath flood slowly from me. We were almost stopped on the pavement now.
Yeah. I've read a lot of good stuff about that show, Min said. Asian representation and all that. And maybe people say they're still just one-off, supporting characters and whatever, but yeah, by modern standards, a lot of it is still pretty insensitive. But somebody had to take the first step, and it was them, and I'm proud of that. Look at me, not even Chinese, and proud.
I'm pretty sure Antonin Hauber didn't ever think about the show anymore. There was so much else on his resume. Which shouldn't hurt your feelings. You made a killing in syndication. There were entire subreddits dedicated to analysis of key episodes that still buzz with active members. I've both checked and participated. To this day, Hauber has never made an appearance at any live fan event, any convention that has ever been organized, despite his face on all the merchandise. Min stopped me in front of a building in the north corner of the block. I realized I'd walked her home. Under the canopy, we dusted off our coats and the tops of our heads. Min still hadn't let go of my hand.
I really did have a good time, she said.
There wasn't much else to say. Still my hand in hers while she led me into the little lobby and into the keyhole elevator. She made a big show of checking that the elevator car had in fact arrived in its proper spot before stepping inside with me, which made me laugh. She lived in a single bedroom on the 3rd floor, overrun with plants on the ground. She lived in a single bedroom on the 3rd floor, overrun with plants on the ground and in the windows that were silhouetted like many-armed creatures when she showed me inside. We took off our shoes. She hung her coats up in her closet. The dog sauntered up to us, sniffing at my knuckles. I put my palm on his head and felt him push against me.
You've passed his test, Min commented. Tea?
I shook my head.
Toast. I can make you toast. Or coffee. I've got an apple I can peel.
Again, I declined. We were a foot apart. I had to bend my head down to look at her properly. Somewhere below, a siren was going off. I looked at her then, probably the first good look I'd gotten of her since we'd left dinner, and saw her cheeks had gone red again, like they had when she'd met me. Have you figured it out? I asked her.
Have I figured what out?
Why an elevator would open when the car isn't there. She said she hadn't, and I kissed her. The ceiling was popcorn. Min's apartment was low enough in the building that passing cars' headlights threw shadows all over the walls, including on the little kernels in the paint, so that the ceiling moved with the lights like the hide of a spotted animal stalking in the grass. I was in her bed, waiting for her to finish in the shower. I didn't know what time it was. I made a move to get up, maybe peel that apple she had mentioned for us to eat when she came back. I picked up my wrist and clicked it a couple times, contented. There was barely enough room for Min's bed here, but off at the other end by the window was a little desk and a closed laptop. On top of her dresser were several folded scarves, and the black woven wallet she had showed me that morning in the store. I looked for my underwear, finding it balled up and still wrapped around one of my ankles, and hiked it back up to my waist. I wanted to look up whether any of the outlets had picked up Hadrian's letter, but doing so would involve finding my phone and having to count all the missed calls Gil had left me, which I hadn't checked since early in the afternoon, and I was far too guilty to do anything like that. I sat up and turned on Min's bedside lamp. The walls were mint green, I realized. I wondered if she'd done that herself or hadn't had the heart to repaint it when she'd moved in. Out in the hall, I could still hear the water hitting the tub. I got to my feet. The scarves were elegantly placed, each folded in a round... The scarves were elegantly placed, each folded in a round, with their adjoining tassels tucked in for neatness. I fingered open a drawer, seeing the assorted waistbands of lacy underwear, and shut it quickly. The rest of her drawers included pants and shirts, a few dark-colored dresses that were soft on my fingers. I thought about looking for the expensive boots she'd told me she bought, but couldn't find them in the little closet off to the right. My eyes fell on the desk. I pulled out the chair and sat, still warm enough from the blankets not to feel the cold. She had a great view out onto the street from here, through the sheer curtains. It made perfect sense to put a desk here. Nice coffee, watch the morning, something like that. On the right of the desktop was a little drawer. My fingers curled around the knob, then pulled it open. Inside was a paperback copy of Tess of the D'Urbervilles, some pens, and a discarded phone case scratched to hell. I picked up the paperback. It looked new, never opened. I wondered how best to ask her about it. I made to replace the book and saw the letter, folded and pushed to the corner of the little drawer. This, I knew, was wrong. You don't have to tell me. I'd been in the wrong ever since getting out of bed. There was nothing I knew about her, really. Nobody deserved intrusion like this. The note was handwritten, and in Korean. I glanced over my shoulder again, ensuring the shower was still running. I was a better speaker than a reader. Min's slanting handwriting was already making it difficult. But slowly, with my lips moving trying to sound each syllable in my head, I read it. Appa, you have hurt me more than you could ever know. I am so angry, cross-through, heartbroken by the way you've treated me. I have given and given as much of my time and energy as you've asked, but I cannot go on any more, cross-through, longer, and live with your disappointment. Nothing I do is good enough. I hate going home. I hate seeing you and Uma because every time I do, I expect to be hurt. I turned the note over, expecting something, but the rest was blank. In the drawer, I saw the pen she had used to write it. My chest hurt. What had been the point? I was breathing hard, holding my head, which had started to throb, when the shower shut off alongside a slick noise of the opening curtain. I folded the paper again, placed it under the book, and pushed the whole thing closed. I stood just as the bathroom door opened, and she stepped back into the room wearing her pajamas, squeezing a damp towel around her hair. She saw me standing, smiled. I can turn the heat up, she said. It's okay, I told her. I looked around for my pants, somewhere under the bed. I should go. She didn't say anything as I got on all fours and fished my clothes out from under the mattress. I dressed, hastily. I kept my back turned on her. When I saw her face next, she had dried her hair and was looking at me with something like hurt. You can shower, she offered. What? No, why? I was stammering. She could tell I was sweating. I didn't dare glance over at the desk again. I mean, I should get going. It's pretty late. Yeah. Min trailed off, confused. You're being weird. I'm not being weird. Whoever says, I'm not being weird, Min said, is usually being weird. What's up with you? Nothing. Did I say something to you? Of course not. Shut the fuck up, I told myself. Stop talking. None of it was working. I saw it dawn on her moment by moment before I could even tell what was happening. Her eyes fell on the desk behind me. What did you do? Nothing. She stepped forward. Tell me the truth. What were you doing in here? I couldn't look at her. In my mind, all I could think was, Jesus Christ, are you a pussy? You're a fucking pussy. Just say something. Say anything. It was a moment in which all I was made of crumbled away to chalk dust, and I was alone, all alone with her. I shook my head. Min's face hadn't changed. If it weren't for her fist on me, I could have convinced myself we were just talking. I wasn't doing anything. Something in her relaxed just as I said it, coming to the thought, arriving at it. Did you fucking go through my desk? I didn't get a chance to say any more because she had shoved me back toward the wall with enough strength that I would have bowled over on my ass if I hadn't grabbed her wrist on reflex. Which was a bad idea, the badness of which occurred to me when she ripped it free and, with her other hand, punched me clean in the face. I went down. I'd never been hit so hard. It was not dissimilar to the cold after a couple hours outside, the dead weight of it, only this time it was seized locally on the right corner of my skull. I saw her feet, keeping a wide distance, used the bed frame for support, and got up. Min was looking at the desk in question as I pulled my shirt back on and hobbled around her. There was no more talk. I left her in the room and found my coat and shoes by the door. The dog had risen from its spot by Min's couch and was staring at me. His orb eyes caught the hallway light like flares. I stumbled out into the hallway. I had the sense of mind to pick my belt bag off the floor near her shoes before the door shut. A few seconds later, the lock clicked shut behind me. I'd done all this still without the use of my center of gravity, and fell on my knees by the stairs, hard. I put my head between my arms for a bit, which felt nice, and when the swelling had stopped, I opened my eyes. One was still blurry. Her knuckle had almost juiced it like a common grape, I was sure of it. I got myself down the stairs and back out through the lobby. I deserved this. You'd agree, and you'd tell me something like, "Rats get what they deserve," or "You're past the point of asking why, you should be asking how," or something. I didn't even know if those made sense. The whole left side of my face throbbed hard through my fingers when I touched it. I didn't want to find my phone, afraid of what I'd see. I turned around and just started walking, back down the street we'd come from. Over my shoulder I looked up at all the windows and tried to visualize, spatially, where hers was, without really understanding why I was even looking. I put my head down and got to the end of the block. My fingers were already numb. I needed a car. There was no way around it. They'd find me all ravaged and frozen behind some dumpster if I tried to walk home the way I was now. I dug my hand into my coat pocket and found my phone, lighting the screen. It was near midnight. There were 2 little pop-ups simmering urgently on the screen. One was a group of 4 missed calls from Gil, who had given up around 3 in the afternoon. I frowned. The second was another chain of hang-ups, this time from my father. I put my phone away, walked another few yards, then pulled it out again. I dialed, bringing it to my ear. He picked up in the middle of a sentence. "Son's calling. Hello there. Can you hear me?" "Yeah, Dad, I'm here." "Hello?" "Dad, I'm here." "Aw, honey, how are you? What are you calling for?" "You called me 4 times tonight." My father made a whistling noise through his teeth. "Not sure I did. Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay. Do you know what kind of batteries I need for my remote? I've got the AA, but I can't seem to get them to work." A great crunching noise sounded over the phone, and I winced. "Dad, you called me 4 times. Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay. What are you talking about? What are you calling for?" "You called me—" He didn't say anything for a while. It was getting worse. I tried not to listen to it, but it was harder and harder to ignore. "You okay?" "Dad." I just closed my eyes. I took my breath in, expanding my chest. "Just hang up. I'm fine." "You know, I can't seem to get in touch with your brother. I was wondering—" "I don't know where he is, Dad. Just keep calling him. He'll pick up." "You don't pick up." His voice had gone flat, saying it. "I'm talking to you right now. What do you mean I don't pick up?" "You don't pick up. Kazi, he always picks up. That's why I'm a little concerned." "You should ask him that." "Honey, what are you calling for? You there? I set my phone down and hung up. I waited a minute. 2 minutes. I waited a minute. 2 minutes. He didn't call back. I tried to imagine him in his chair, still talking without noticing. I stared at the blank screen, beginning now to shiver. After another minute, I found the right number in my contacts and dialed. As simply as I could, I told the voice on the line that my father was sounding a little more confused than usual and asked if it was possible that somebody could come by the house and get him to bed. The voice assured me somebody was on their way and was in the middle of wishing me a happy holiday when I hung up on him, too. I walked up the street, away from Min's building, and within a few blocks had soaked through my shoes in the new slush. My face still hurt. I couldn't make out much in the darkened windows, and so carried on my way, past the big department store. It was the only one that hadn't closed in the past decade, the only one whose handlers hadn't made the foolhardy decision to try and open an offshoot in every strip mall in the country. They were known for these windows. There had been several documentaries made about the people who put these windows together, all the prep work, the visualizing, the buying and draping, the custom-made mannequins and their props. Only a few stragglers dawdled around the window displays, big, elegant squares draped over with fabric and impossibly decadent crystal chandeliers. I passed each one, raising my head just a little to look before continuing on. I'd never gone a year without seeing them. Maybe it's getting old hearing this. Maybe you have important things to do and don't have time for people like me, for fans, for whatever it is that I am. I know. I know it was you. I know that there's a little piece of the past that I keep holding on to, years ago on a snowy night just like this. Whoa. When I was 8 years old, holding my wrist the night that I broke it while you carried me home. It's funny, the way that sparks create flames, create wildfires, bringing it all down, changing landscapes, altering the ecology from a single step, a single motive, and action that, at first, don't appear to mean shit. There's a word for that. I forget what it is. I woke, with breaths feathering gently into my left armpit. The falling snow had blasted Gil's windows white again, heavier than the day before, so that I couldn't even see the street from them. I sat up, gently, without waking him, and rounded the side of the bed to Gil's closet mirror. My right eye closed and opened normally, but had gone purpley blue. It was so seamless that it looked like a birthmark. I flinched, touching it, still tender. My phone was near dead when I picked it up off Gil's dresser. I saw that my father had called me one last time around 2 a.m. There was no telling when the next would come. If he had gotten through to Kaz, I didn't know. Gil made a noise and lifted his head off the pillows. He squinted at my face, trying to find it in focus. "You're not swollen anymore," he commented in his gravelly morning voice. "That's a good sign." I read off my phone that it was near 8. Gil watched me look at it for a while, making my choices. Then I started to dress. "Going somewhere?" he asked. "Home," I lied. "Job search starts today, remember? Can't waste any time." He was silent as I found my pants, my socks and belt, the leather bag that I'd hung off one of his bedposts and looped once more around my chest. "You could stay." I didn't answer this. Gil would keep bothering me until I did what he wanted, and I didn't know if I had the courage for that anymore. Things were different now. Maybe they always had been and I hadn't noticed, but whatever it was, I wasn't going to stay here. I could see out of my periphery the look Gil gave me as I patted myself down, locating my wallet and keys, and made for the door. "Brandon." He was doing this to get to me. I knew he was, and it would have been funny if it weren't always so successful. You wouldn't understand the way people look at me. Nobody looks at you like this, like somebody who needs protection, who needs help, who is one step from total chaos and teeters so precariously on its edge that it's almost sickening to witness. This is how you looked at perps. I'd seen it many times before and imagined as a boy. What did it feel like to be looked at this way? In the light, Gil's shoulders looked even slimmer than they were, his top sheet bunched around his lap. He spoke. "Are you always going to be such a fucking asshole?" I tilted my head one way, then the other, with nothing to say, and closed his bedroom door behind me. The bakery had just put out a second tray of blueberry muffins when I stepped inside. My stomach ached looking at them. The spicy food we'd had for dinner had upset my chemistry in a way that I usually dealt with by downing something carby for breakfast. I had made half a mind to buy something with caffeine, but he was already there, sitting at the farmost table in a new set of duds, all white this time, cycling shoes perched neatly on the table near his coffee. He waved me over, and I sat. As though preempting me, he poured me a coffee, clapping me on the back. "You look as though you've been through hell to make it to this breakfast," he commented. "Neighborhood scuffle? Big kids took your lunch money?" "Can I eat that?" I pointed to the other half of his muffin. He smirked and slid it toward me. I wolfed it, still a little bit warm. He watched me with a strange, clinical curiosity. Everything I did seemed to fascinate him. "Crazy news out there last night about that Hauer kid," he said finally, as I licked crumbs. "I saw Antonin was dropped by his agency this morning. They're saying he might even be arrested later tonight, unless he turns himself in. Seems like the honorable thing to do. Getting pretty serious." I think people need to find more important things to do with their lives than read celebrity news. He snapped his fingers, pointing at me. "You are absolutely right. Isn't that in vogue now? Try the 1%. Eat the rich. Blah, blah. These people aren't people. They're not real people. What the fuck do we think we're doing, eating it all up? It's imprisonment. You know, that's something about you that I noticed straight away. You're honest. And you're not just honest. You cut through. You're not afraid of it. It's what you are. We're looking for talent like this. There is so much goddamn corporate obfuscation around buzzwords and meaningless lingo. You know what that is? It's noise. Entropy. It's never produced a single good for anybody. Us at the firm, we're not concerned with language, conversation." I wiped my mouth, looking for my coffee, and downed it. "What is your concern, then?" The stranger smiled, again that arresting, unreal smile that I couldn't ever define if I tried. "Something better worth our time. Our planet is dying. We no longer have the resources to sustain our growth. And don't say I'm just shitting you. You want to call me pessimistic? Fuck you. I'm the most optimistic person in the world. I know exactly what we can accomplish if we have the money and the time to do it." The coffee had stirred some life back into me, and I fought the urge to laugh. It was the kind of thing somebody might say at the end of a pivotal scene in a movie. Cut to black. Main titles. Yada yada. "That is some heavy stuff for so early in the morning. You've seen the blackouts. You've seen the way this entire country panics when they happen. You tell me what needs to be on our minds," he said. "And the most ridiculous part, most of us seem contented to live with it. Not me. Not my boss." "You're doing quite a dance to get me to fuck you," I said. "I'm not trying to do anything you're thinking about," he said. "I'll give you the pitch, yeah? And if you buy it, you're in. I've seen enough of you to be sure you're a fit. I'm putting my money behind you." He blinked several times for dramatic effect and smiled. It was difficult to place this look, as it was right here in this moment, and as it would be almost every time I ever saw him. He blinked several times for dramatic effect and smiled. It was difficult to place this look, as it was right here in this moment, and as it would be almost every time I saw him in the months thereafter. A kind of knowingness in him that suggested all the things that lay unavailable to me about him and would remain so forever, like he held a shiny treasure behind his back at all times. I promised to give you the reason, to tell you how it all happened, how I came to be here just 4 months after that stupid meeting over coffee. Lying in a clean bed, smelling of bleach, hearing only muted bass sounds, IV drips, vibrations through my fingertips, and blackness. I promised you a reason, Raider, and we are, more or less, halfway there. But it really is funny how much I'm learning alongside you. This look on his face, I'd forgotten the way it scared me, then and now. "I'm not here to fuck you," he said finally. I'm here to offer you a job. He dug into the little zip pocket on his spandex shirt and pulled a business card from it, sliding it across the table to me. My name is Lev, and I want you, first, to ask yourself what it is you know about the state of our world's energy. Competing industries, overpopulation, blackouts that, we all agree, will just keep coming. Then I want you to comb through all the things you can name about the way people of our world consume energy, conserve energy, waste energy, how we are primed to accept the system for what it is and do nothing about it under a complex of fear. And when you're done with all of that, I want you to forget it, all of it. I want you to listen to me and learn a new word. Flux. And with that, we will call it for today. Super short one today. Tomorrow will be longer. Probably. I promise. I think. Maybe. Caveats abound. Hooray! Anyway, we get to the title name drop. Yeah, let's go. Title drops. Alrighty. So yeah, things are moving along. We learn the first-person perspective character. His name is Brandon. We learn he makes dubious decisions in the heat of the moment, possibly when he's over at a girl's place, like opening drawers in her desk. Kind of a questionable decision. Also, is he not already concussed? I think his shit just might have gotten rocked pretty bad. Because she really unloaded on him. Not that he didn't deserve it. He absolutely did. Well, I mean, maybe not physical violence, but it's understandable. Let's see. So yeah, two head traumas in one day is not a phenomenal start. So this installment we didn't get anything from Young Bo, really. We'll get more. One thing I really have to give the author credit for, and is really clear this second time through, this is only the second time I've read this, is how good a job he does weaving the narratives together. And also, like, kind of telling you things that are going to be very significant later without you having any way of knowing how significant they are. He's very good at that. I'd definitely be interested to see where this author goes going forward. I'm pretty excited. Anyway, so some house cleaning / channel drama. If you came here, if you are one of the people, many though you are, who enjoyed or acknowledge that my channel had the channel pumped to you via the algorithm. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Had the channel pumped to you via the algorithm due to an interest in the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy, or three-body trilogy. Those have all had to be taken down now. I will tell you, however, that there are, in fact, copies of these. They exist. They are not on the YouTube channel, but if you join the Discord, I can hit you with the MP3s, no problem. If you are interested. They are unedited, they are straight rips. They do not have the cover art, unfortunately, because they're MP3s. I also have the copies of the videos themselves on my own, but I need to find some way to make that available to people if they want them. I have a thing that I'm going to try to do using a network area storage that I have that I might be able to allow people to get larger file size things. I'll more carefully curate that. I'll basically have all of it uploaded there. Or I could just start like a Kickstarter or a Patreon and make it so you have to pay for access. I won't do that. That isn't to say I won't start a Patreon or something anyway, just for a little... people have indicated an interest in throwing money my way, and I'd like to call their bluff. I've been saying that for years, and I still haven't done it. The problem is I have nothing extra to offer them, so I won't. Let's see, anything else salient? Eat My Sparkles from Twitch says, I came here from YouTube after I found the Artemis. Yes! That's another one that's had to be taken down. So far, we have 5 titles that have been taken down. Echopraxia by Peter Watts, Artemis by Andy Weir, and Three Body Problem, Dark Forest, and Death's End by Shijin Liu. Those have all been taken down from the YouTube channel. They are still available. I have the files for all of these. It is not an issue. Ironically, the Artemis ones that I've got uploaded for people to get off of the Discord are the most edited any of my stuff actually is, because it knocks off the entire opening, intro, and other shenanigans. It's just the MP3 recordings. I'm going to poke through and see if I've done that for any of the others, and I'll get those updated at some point. The difficulty is the way those record is it saves them as a date, and not as a title. So I will have to actually listen through them to find out. Also, for what it's worth, those are all in a video format, so I have to convert them, but that's easy. I have ways and means of doing that, no problem. I've done it before, I'll do it again. Anyway, so that's the current recurring drama. I'm going to go double check the channel right now to make sure there's nothing else. Because I didn't get notice a notification about the Artemis one, I do have 2 copyright strikes on my channel, so I need to watch it like a hawk for the next 90 days to make sure it doesn't happen again. It doesn't look like there's anything new to be seen there. Yeah, that's from 3 days ago. That's good. Well, let's go and have a gander at our comments here. Various comments that have popped up over the last however long. Let's see. Odo420 commented, "You just removed the Dark Forest, and I was halfway through. Your commentary was the only thing that made it listenable." Well, that's good. Let's see. And that is on one of the Flux videos. I will tell him to join the Discord momentarily. KBR517 says, "Thank you for reading this. You read it very well." I think that's for one of the... Oh, that's for Termouche. Oh my gosh, someone's listening to Termouche. Yes! Yes! Fresh Bottle Earth needs to get banished to the Nether Zone. Send him to Detroit. Boom! I don't need AI viewers. I don't make money off this. Let's see. My Maya Papaya. I love that name. My Maya Papaya. That's excellent. Asks, where is part 1? And that is also for Termouche. I wonder why Termouche is getting hits all of a sudden. Did I not make a Termouche playlist? I thought I made a Termouche playlist. Then again, if you found it on... If the algorithm pushed you the video, it's not necessarily going to push you the video in the playlist. So let me get a hold of that. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. If I didn't save that in a playlist, that would be moderately embarrassing. Ascension Factor, Axiomatic, Nightland, Rim of Morning, Artemis, okay. It's before all that. Should be after Burning Chrome, though. Did I not save a Termouche playlist? What? There it is. Was that really only in 2 parts? It has been a long time.
It hasn't been that long. It's been long enough that I can't remember. I guess it is a short book, so I must have done that in 2 halves. Oh. Okay, let me get that link to them real quick. Playlists. Where's my Termish? Which was a good one. I was very happy with Termush. Yeah, here we go. Copy. Let me find the comment that they left. Send them a link to the playlist. Let's see. There was another comment here. Where did it go? Somebody loved my opinion on cover art. It looks like that's for what? Destination Void. And Chris Plish comments 10 out of 10. Thank you on the Hyperion Cantos. Thank you. I enjoyed doing that one quite a bit. Alright. So you just removed Dark Forest. I don't know where I even have a link to that. Oh my gosh. Jeez. Not user settings. That's not useful. There we go. Evoke to server. I thought there was a way to make a permanent invite link. There is a way to make a... in the channel description. There we go. Okay, so yeah, thank you to everyone who has tuned in. We're going to keep the ball rolling. Yeah, so yeah, we'll do some more tomorrow. When I learn my schedule for next week, I will put up the days I'll have free then and there. So that'll be nice. That'll be nice. Yeah, that's probably good right there. I thought I had some other salient yap to do, but I honestly don't remember what it was. Anywho, we will keep it going. I have too much fun here. It's true. Thank you, Eat My Sparkles, for tuning in. It is appreciated. As always, feedback, etc. is always accepted, even if I don't respond. And I do read every comment, always. Always I read them. I don't respond to all of them, but I do read all of them. I am a voracious reader. Yes, it does have a Discord link. Let me just make sure this is a valid Discord link real quick, because if it's not, I'm going to look like a real goober. Yes, good. Peachy. That should still work. Anyway, Stay safe, stay sane, be decent to each other if you are living in Europe. Holy spinoli, try to keep cool. Some of the stuff I'm reading about the heat dome that y'alls are getting is not great. These things happen, and they're going to happen more frequently. It's almost like there's something changing in the climate. Wild thought. Wild thought. Oh, that's right. I meant to check to see if Peter Watts has anything going on. Nah, he just saw Project Hail Mary and was kind of ambivalent, which is fair. Which is fair. Actually, he says more thoroughly that he actually enjoyed the movie the second time around, but he has some nitpicks. I say nitpicks. Basically, they're all the same nitpicks I had when I read the book. I was like, it's an okay book. It's fun. It's fine, but it is, I don't know. I have my issues with Andy Weir. I think he's a decent sort. I think he generally writes an enjoyable yarn most of the time. But, like, if you think too hard about his stuff, it can be very infuriating. But that's how it goes sometimes. There's a lot of authors like that. He's hardly alone. Even Peter Watts, I have my own beef with. On certain things. So it's like, don't. I do what I can to separate the art from the artist. Sometimes I struggle. I think the biggest success I have with that is probably with the musician Warren Zevon, who, as a human being, was unbelievably shitty towards basically everyone who knew him. But his art is very honest, I find. Like, once it's like, his stuff is okay. Like, I think he could have been one of the all-time greats. But because he alienated everyone around him, that was never going to happen. It's also a matter of timing, where, like, he's doing, some of the stuff he was doing, particularly early in his career, I'm like, yeah, I could have seen this guy being up there with your Bob Dylans, with your, even Bruce Springsteen, why not? He would never have been, I don't think, a superstar like Bruce, but, the boss. But, I think he could have been a bigger deal than he wound up being, but, he's got some good stuff under his belt. But, again, as a person, truly terrible. Couple of really phenomenal jazz musicians. Ain't you, Miles Davis? Oh, Miles Davis. Phenomenal artist, though. Phenomenal. Actual authors, that happens too. I try not to think. I try not to think about it with Orson Scott Card, but, like, once you know what he's all about, it's like, oh no, I can see that. I can see that now. Oh no. I'll still give him credit for, like, the initial Ender trilogy. Those, I think, still hold up pretty well. I may or may not get around to doing those. I just feel a bit uncomfortable about, a white kid calling a brown kid certain words, certain epithets. Not super okay with that. And then, like, laughing it off as a joke. I'm just kind of like, I don't think you could even get away with that then. Anyway, that's enough yapping out of me. I'll leave you all to it. See you all tomorrow. Same frag time, same frag station. What was the thing I was reading? He said he's going to leave people to do their thing. I don't remember. Some kind of... Oh yeah, I need to move that somewhere where I'm going to see it, because I want to read that this year. On stream. It's a good one. The Buffalo Hunter. I want to get around to doing a horror novel, nominally, but pretty good. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I like most of my book purchases come in, like, 2 different forms, in case anyone actually cares, and I can't imagine you do. But in case you do, my book purchases come in 2 different colors. One is there's an author I like, and I'm getting more of their bibliography for me to read. And 2 is impulse purchase that I got at a bookstore of some kind. Usually I do not enter a bookstore without a mission to get something specific, but the problem is I always walk out of there with like 20 pounds of books. This is an issue. I don't have the space for it. So I have to be somewhat selective. So I try to go in, grab something, used, if I can. If it's a used bookstore, I'm generally going to go completely nuts in a used bookstore. I'm going to go ham. I'm going to get all the books. And if it's a new one, I try to get something relatively recent that is maybe like kind of sight unseen. Just like, oh, does the basic description sound vaguely interesting, or does the cover look interesting, or is there something about it that catches my interest even for an instant, and then grab it and get around to it when I get around to it. I've made some really good picks this way. I have gathered some stinkers. It's not a perfect system, but it does keep me reading, and not like I need any help for that. What it does mean is I reread things less, because I have such a large backlog. Oh, come on, Frag. It's only... That's just the ones I can see. That's an entire shelf of backlog I'm looking at, actually. Let's not count those, because I'll cry. I'm also getting a hold of the Revelation Space, rather. The Revelation Space trilogy by... actually, it's a quadrilogy now. Or more. By Alistair Reynolds, so I'll be getting into that. That's some of my summer reading booked out. As well as a reread of Michener's... what is the one in South Africa? Is that The Source? I'm planning on doing a reread of some Michener. It's been a while. Anyway, I'm out. See you all tomorrow. We already did the ending spiel of stay safe, stay sane, be decent to each other. It's the thing we say. It's what we do. I don't know. Maybe I should change it, but I'll never remember to change it, so... too late now. Oh well. Say toodaloo, bye! Or whatever. I don't know. Goodbye.